In a battle for control, the Bulls take the lead. Are we ready for launch? This is Invest with Jacob. Okay, guys, so in yesterday's video, we talked about a couple of paths, and I gave you the key levels of what would need to happen for each one of those paths to play out, and the bullish path ended up playing out. I told you they needed to hold support and push back over at 47.86, and that's exactly what we saw as the Bulls ended the day near the highs, pushing back up over 4,800. Now the question is, are they ready to completely break out? I'll get into that in just 1 second, but first, if you're new here, welcome to the show, guys. My name is Jacob Gabbard, and this is Invest with Jacob, where we use Elliott Wave Theory to break down the SP500 and the NASDAQ. I highly encourage you to hit that subscribe button down below so that you can get our daily S&P updates, our trade setups, and our buy alerts. All right, guys, we are putting the finishing touches on our advanced Elliott Wave course. We already have some great reviews in. Here's one on the screen from one of the people in our live room. As a note, if you are a member of our live room, you can access the videos that are already up in the advanced Elliott Wave course and get started on that training. So if you join our membership today, you can get access to that course. For now, let's jump into the chart and take a look. Okay, guys, so here we are on the 1-hour futures chart for the S&P 500. And I know some of you have been looking for a bigger picture update. I will give one of those on Tuesday of next week. Remember, I no longer have a Monday video as I don't record on Sundays anymore. So we are going to have a bigger picture update on Tuesday for you. Now, yesterday we talked about the Bulls needing to hold support and push back over 47.86. And that's what they did right out of the gate. They held down here, pushed up over 47.86. Pulled back in a wave 2 and then started to push up. If you remember yesterday, I said they won't break out directly. They'll need a 5-wave move up, and then we'll pull back, and then you'll see the breakout. And so they've started that process here. And this is a pretty good indication when they break over the lower pivot that they are going to try to continue to the upside. So our primary path right now is that the deeper pullback on Wednesday was a deeper wave 2. So off of this low, this wave 4 low, you would have a 1-2 to the upside. 1, 2, and then you have 1 of 3 and 2 of 3, and then you have the breakout attempt. Now, the first thing you want to see is the lower pivot break. And in my Elliott Wave for Beginners course and in my room, I talk about these things all the time. The lower pivot is 48.09, and they pushed above that and broke up, and now the next target would be 48.21. Then the more common target, or where we really look, is 48.34. But because wave 1 was so small, I would look for this to potentially have some extensions in it. So this breakout attempt could push up towards 48.40 to 48.50, which is the top of the larger pivot. And the top of the larger pivot is usually resistance. So I would look for some extensions in this potential move up where we break out over the 1,236 and 1,382 into this upper pivot area. Reject the pivot, which is pretty common. You kind of grind down here. This would line up with the lower pivot, and then we would break out from there, looking for our next target to be 48.82, and really 49.14 would be the next major target. So those are the major key levels we have to the upside. Right now, the Bulls are above the pivot. They need to hit 48.21, which is the 1.0. As long as they hit that and hold 48.02, we are bullish up towards that 4,900 area. Now, if they do hit 48.21 and they start to fail to the downside, meaning they break the bottom half of the pivot, then we'd be looking for the potential for this to be a 1 down, 2 up, and then a breakdown in 3 of C to the downside toward that 45 to 4,600 area. That would be if they break the lower end of the pivot, which is around 4,800. I have the exact numbers for my room. I give them the pivots, and it's something you can learn in our Elliott Wave 4 Beginners course, but that is an extremely important number. When they break that number, that indicates that the impulsive move is not going to follow through, and we should be looking for whatever the alternate path would be. So again, primary path, looking for them to push up to at least 48.21, but we should see some extensions here. Up, the normal target would be 48.34, so if they get there, that's perfectly fine. But because wave 1 was so small, I do think we could see 48.50, which is the upper half of the upper pivot. And then from there, we would see probably a little bit of a pullback and then another extension higher. To the downside, again, if they break the lower pivot, then we'd be looking for a potential wave 3 of C down that would break down into the 4,600 45 to 4,600 area overall. Over on the NASDAQ, okay, on the NASDAQ 2-hour chart, again, we have similar setups. I told you yesterday that if you were bearish, the NASDAQ was the problem. And as we saw, the NASDAQ broke out over the 11th high here and came up and challenged the high over here at the end of the year. And they're set for their breakout as well. So off of the low here, you have your wave 1 up, your wave 2 down, and then you have a 1-2. and then you're looking for the breakout. And the pivot on the NASDAQ is the 17,246 level, so we'd look for them to come up to that level and start to chop a little bit. Ultimately, we'd look for them to push through that level. And assuming they can push through that level and hit the 17,417 level, okay, that'd be the 1.0. That activates the pivot. And then as long as they stay above the pivot on all pullbacks, we are bullish for a bigger breakout toward that 17,500, 17,600 area. Now, if they get up to the 1.0 or higher and come back down and break the pivot, that's more indicative of a failed move where we would have made a high and then started a new move to the downside. So the NASDAQ has very clear parameters as well. The pivot, the 764 to 618 extensions of wave 1 and 2, that needs to hold. As long as they can get up through the pivot to 17,417 and they hold the pullbacks over the pivot, we would be bullish up toward that 17,500 to 17,600 area. Now, if they fail to break out, the NASDAQ does retrace very high quite often. If they fail to break out over the December high here, this end of year high, and they come back down and break the low from Wednesday, that would be an indicative of a move where we're going to come back down and test this low and likely see closer to that 16,000 overall area. So the NASDAQ has very clear parameters as well. Two paths. Bullish path is our primary. As long as they can get up through the pivot at 17,246 to the 17,417 area and then hold above the pivot, we are bullish up toward the 17,500 to 600 area. Guys, if you love the information that I put out in these videos and you want real-time market updates from me, you need to check out investwithjacob.com. There's a link down in the description. Go ahead and click that link. It'll take you right over to the webpage. Once you're there, check out our membership plans area. We have 2 incredible plans, and they both come with a 7-day free trial because I want you to get in there and make sure you love it. Make sure it's for you. Make sure it's something you believe in, that you like the people, that you like me, that you like PT, and you want to be part of this amazing trading team that we have here. You have a 7-day free trial, and you can cancel at any time. Literally nothing to lose on this. Incredible deal. Also, when you sign up, you get access to our Advanced Elliott Wave course for free. It's not on the website yet because it's not complete, but we have several of the videos up, and you can already start the course if you go ahead and sign up for the rooms. We also have our Elliott Wave for Beginners online course. In there, we're helping real traders make real money and understand the market in a way that makes sense. It can be awfully difficult to understand why good news makes the market go down and bad news makes the market go up, and it can make it very hard to trade. Elliott knew that the news cycles didn't mean anything, but key levels did. And with Elliott Wave's beginner course, I show you how to find those key levels and what happens when they hold and what happens when they break, which gives you a huge advantage over the rest of the market. It's 25 videos in 3 parts where I go over our introduction, we go over your expectations, your emotions, KISS method and why it works, your chart setup and tools, every single tool you need to use with Elliott Wave, why and how it works, and then the Elliott Wave for Beginners area where I go through each of the waves, how to measure them, how to understand their targets, how to know when they fail, how to know when they succeed, what the key levels are, all of the different things you need to know about Elliott Wave so that you can start understanding the market in a way that makes sense. I talked about the pivot a lot today. We have a whole video on the pivot and how it works and why it works. In our advanced course, we talk about how the pivot moves and where it moves to and when you adjust it. The pivot is extremely important. It's all in there for you guys. It's an incredible course, and it helps you finally understand an irrational market. If you don't want to pay the $67, I completely understand. Like I said earlier, when you sign up for our monthly rooms, you get all of our training material that we release for free. So you get the Elliott Wave for Beginners course, the advanced course, and everything else I put out in the room. All of that comes with your membership. In our first room, the Invest with Jacob room, you get all of my real-time market updates, all of my buy and sell alerts, all of your Elliott Wave questions answered, a midday video where I go over exactly where we are in the counts and what to expect, as well as all of the training material you just saw. We trade the SPY and the QQQ, and we swing and day trade, which means we trade quite often in our room. But if you're looking for futures trading, individual stocks, income trading, as well as advanced training, you need to check out PT's Throne Room. In there, you get everything you get in the Invest with Jacob room, as well as individual stocks, futures trading, PT's income trading that's just crushing the market. He's doing incredible in there with that. And also his advanced training like his reduced risk binary method that just crushes the market, gets you in at a cheap price and get you big multiples on your money. And it's how he structures his trades that's so unique. Something you really have to see to understand, and that's another reason we give you that 7-day free trial. He also started a challenge account where he put $4,000 into an account, trading mini ES futures, showing you how to build a small account into a large retirement or savings account. Guys, we'd love to have you in these rooms so we can all make money together. All right, the key takeaways for today. Bulls have control of the market. The next target higher is that 48.21 area. Assuming they can get to that, and as long as the pivot holds, we are looking for a breakout to new all-time highs. Up toward the 48.50 area would be our next target. 48.34 would actually be the next target, and we would look for an extension to 48.50. However, if the pivot fails and the bulls are unable to hold, we would look for rapid selling to the downside and a wave 3 of C. Over on the NASDAQ, same type of setup. They're ready for a breakout on the NASDAQ. They are just below the pivot, assuming they can push through the pivot to the 17,417 area and then come back and hold the pivot on all pullbacks. We would look for them to be bullish up towards 17,500, 17,600, and then we'll see where we're at up there. Guys, it's the weekend. Grab yourself a drink, get away from the computer, spend some time with your family, and I'll talk to you next week.